Oh, camera. Hey Klong guy, how you doing? I'm good, I'm fine, how are you? I'm having a bit of trouble with the camera. Just bear with me a minute. These cameras are very temperamental. There we are. I had to change the USB socket. So tonight we've got I put the first podcast of the Moths of Programming.
With Dino. We start.
Hal, go away. I'm going to just sort of send out the usual advertisements while I do it. I'll put something on. See you in a bit.
In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was walking along and right by the stream searching. I felt like a 2-year-old urchin. Was thinking about the sun somewhere behind the clouds. And the trees, they all agree with that chattering sound. I went for the stars, but I could not see any, nor the sky above, nor eternity. There were no words to spoil or taint the scene. No black, no white, no grey, nothing to be. So tell me, did he really know what he was making? And does he already know the ending? If God had a river of his own, did he learn to let go? Let it carry him down to where he needed to go. Was there anyone looking after the place where he would be? Thereafter I want to know about God and the river. Makes no sense, there can be no pretense. If Look at us, we're all like little children, playing in the playground, but not so nicely. If God is our parent, then where the hell is he or she? Tell me, did she really know what she was making? And does she already know the ending? Now, really, does she? Does she really know what she was making? And does she already know how this is ending? Thinking about God and the river. About God and the river now. Thinking about God and the river. About God and the river now. Thinking about God and the river. About God and the river now. Thinking about God and the river. About God and the river now. Thinking about God and the river. About God and the river now. Thinking about God and the river. About God and the river now. Thinking about God and the river. About God and the river now. Thinking about God and the river.
Break your part down bit by bit. Yeah, drop something else out. Nice. And then up majorly. You see, that forces us now to fade it out by then.
Ah, right. Well, there we go. That seems to last forever. Time to get the old macaroni out. Map fling. My maps. Doesn't it save it automatically? Do I have to remember to save the map? It doesn't seem to have remembered the last changes I did. Yeah, it did not remember the map. That is really annoying. I mean, I edited the map and yeah, okay, I have to watch that because it's all gone down. We had a lot more people on the map. So maybe there's another link, I don't know. It was like edit. That's really annoying. I think what I'll have to do is make a new map based on this map. Then. So, where are you, Klongaiga? I think you were... I'm trying to remember now. Are you near Ghent? Is that it? Let me know and I'll add a dot for you. How open file project.
Opening.
Yeah, I don't think I'm supposed. I think it's a bug that it forgets it. Mannheim. Okay. Well, we'll just add you. Oh. I got to spell it correctly. How do paste. How do paste. And what we'll do is go with... Oh, it is red. That's weird. I don't know why it didn't save it. That's really annoying. Make sure next time. Well, let's see if this works, right? So, ready to save or send. Oh, flipping heck, you have to save it. It doesn't save it automatically. Damn thing. How annoying is that? Pretty damn annoying, actually. Yeah. Pretty damn annoying. So... Okay, right. Anyway, he was refactoring the Phi programming language project, so I'm going to carry on working on that. And I'll try not to sing the praises of John Hare today. That got a bit out of hand yesterday. You know, hero worship can go too far, you know, for sure. It must be a variant of Stockholm Syndrome. Right. How compile program. How next error. I can just actually, because I've got like copy and paste, all voice controlled. I think I can just lean back, you know, I can just lean back and just one hand on the mouse, the other doing nothing. I can just sit here and get it done, chilling out. How's that? Right, so the error is state is not a member of state imp. It's because I've moved this. How do cut. How do cut. How compile program. How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? How compile program? How do cut? Have to be careful with that one, otherwise it gets confused with Deep Space Nine. Do cut? How run program? How do cut? I imagine they're a bit problematic, to be honest. How?
Hello, Dino.
How run? Ham? Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. Map macro redefinition. That's an interesting one. Where was it first defined? Oops. Oh, let's go to 12, F12. There we go. I have, right, yes, I have this actually somewhere else right now. What? Oh, right. It's this be due to shenanigans. How compile program. Hey Salad Gaming, how you doing? You weren't here yesterday when I was getting very silly on the Chuck Norris. Sorry, no, John Hare jokes. I can't remember I can't remember when I was laughing so much. Yeah, that was game. It's given me ideas, but yeah. I know. Oh, you was here. Okay, all right. Because that's been on my mind a little bit. It's like that start because for those who don't know, Salad Gaming is someone I know in real life. And he knows lots of other people that I know in real life, who might now get to see by. It's one of the risks. One of the risks that goes with the territory of streaming. You can't keep any secrets anymore. Oh well. Anyway, it didn't save the map, which is really irritating because I realised that you have to explicitly save the map. It doesn't automatically save it. So I'll have to put you back. Salad. I never ask people why they choose the handles that they do, so I won't. But if you want to explain why you're called Salad Gaming, I might not be the only curious one on that. Okay, right. Global Context is not a member of FIVM state. I need to find out where Global Context is, and this is one of the. Oh, right. No, yours is. Okay, sorry. It's because you were replying to the question. I immediately thought I thought it was Salad who was replying, but you're replying. So you're. I'm just trying to work it out, but it's very difficult because I don't speak German. Right. How? Right. Exactly. I get it. Well, you've got certainly. It's a good name. It's memorable. It certainly is. It's memorable. It sticks so well that I forgot who you were when it came back. But I have to say, as far as handles go, usernames go, yours is tasty. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I probably telegraphed that one so far that everybody was just cringing even before I said it. But, well, there we are. Yeah, I was trying to work out the anagram of your name, Klongeiger. But since I don't speak German, I think it's impossible, frankly. So right. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. There's certain cruelty to having an arch nemesis for a bald person, or relatively bald person, to have an arch nemesis called hair. Oh boy, something's happened. I think a bag that was better left closed has been opened and cannot be closed again. I can't. I'm trying to work it out now. Gregory. George. It's George, isn't it? It's too early for the. It probably is, but it's never too early. It's too early for the John Hare jokes, but it's never too early for John Hare. Shit. That was actually funnier than I thought it would be. Oh, there. All right. So, George. Geor George King. Klingon. you actually you've got it's a good name for making anagrams of. You've actually got Klingon in your name. Did you know that? You must have done. Oh no, there's only one end. Oh yeah, you need two ends almost. I give up. Anyway, that's enough of that. I should probably get back to right. Yeah, so here's the thing I was about to rant about. The utter uselessness of not utter uselessness, but it's like IntelliSense is unable to tell me where this originally was. You see, that would be really useful. So then I have to, because I'm in the middle of refactoring, so I have to do a find all. And then the irony is the find all, I think, sometimes can be faster than IntelliSense. Not that time. Oh, because it was looking at other stuff. Global context. So currently it's located here inside of FIVM state imp. So I need to provide access. Oh, and that's a static. Oh, because it's a global context. I don't know why I made that static. I think I probably should not be static. And then to provide access to this global context, I think what I'm going to have to do is void get global context. I'm not sure why I need it to have be a pointer. If I'm returning it from the function, I might as well return a reference to it, and I might as well make it const, I suppose. Though that's, we'll see. Get global context. Return pimple global yeah, autocomplete. You're gonna autocomplete for me? No. Yeah, that's it. How do copy? How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? So I should be on that, and then I need to do that in there. Then I have to take this. How do copy?
Copied.
I have to put that back to here. How do paste? How do paste? And then I have to get rid of this. No, not that bit. Although actually well, I'm going to leave it, but it's this one I have to take off. How compile program? How next error? I didn't like that. Maybe I have to get rid of it here as well. How run program? How next error? It doesn't like it. So this state is here. I mean, what the hell's wrong with that? Oh, void const. How compile program? How next error? How compile program? How next error? Still doesn't like it. Oh, but again, it's the same thing. Void const. I just didn't see it again. How compile program? How compile program? How next error? Missing type missing type specifier. Really? How compile program? How next error? Oh dear. Right, yes, okay, because what I need to do is dereference this. How compile program? How next error? Okay, right, so we're over here now. Global context is not a member of FIA. It's true, it isn't anymore. How compile program? How next error? Get store is not a member of FIA. Okay. How do paste? How compile program? How next error? Doesn't like this one. Because it needs to be imp here. How next Now, let's get this right straight. That was correct. Oh, it's because I haven't put the definition in yet. How do copy?
Copied.
Oh, I have a button to do a return on the mouse. I forgot about that. How do paste? How compile program? How next error? Error. A standard map allocator pair cannot convert argument 1 from const express item to expression item to so get store taking an expression item that is a bit wrong. Get store. Let's just switch this to here and take another look. This is get store state. I think I've got bad naming conventions here. There must be another get store. There is another one, so that's actually, yeah, a bit bad. I have to I've got two functions which are called the same and have different arguments, and they mean different things. They return different values. It's a bad. That's a bad thing to do, but it's just, yeah, it grew that way because this is not production code yet. There'll be another thing to fix, but right now I want to get rid of the error. So return pimple get store e, I think. How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? How compile program? It's complaining about set store now. Takes a key and a value, so this is this one. How do copy?
Copied.
Let's just paste that in here. How do paste? Impl set store key value. How do copy?
Copied.
Oh, okay, hang on a minute. Copy it again. Right, put it on here. I can go there, put a paste that in, and then have to remove. How compile program? Get store 2 is not a member of. How do copy?
Copied.
How do copy?
Copied.
Let's just get that into here. And I have to delete. How compile program? How next error? Doesn't like it because it's the wrong get store 2. It's the same problem again. Okay, so let's go back to here. I need this get store 2. Let's copy that and down to here and paste it there, and on this with this FIVM state, pop that in there as well. Return gets E. How compile program? How next error? Oh. Yeah, I didn't put it in. How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? How compile program? How compile program? The next error is this one, set function argument. Let's do that. About halfway down this file at the moment. Back to here. And always show this message. It's one of the useless messages. Set function argument. Copy that to the bottom of the file and paste that here. FIVM state, copy that, paste into there. This pimple to set function. I'm beginning to get into the flow here of I, E. Take that, copy that, switch to this side here, boom, 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 and HAL compile program. HAL compile program. HAL compile program. Obviously I was getting too jaunty for it. Was that too jaunty for you, Hal? Hal, next error. Return value is not a member of FIVM state. I'll need to make an accessor for that. Void FIV FI. I can't be bothered. Get return value whatever the type of return value was. They're just returning an expression item. I'm going to actually I can return a express item. I was deciding what type of value to return, so I'm just going to return a reference to an expression item. So then I can do return pimple return value. And see, the reason why IntelliSense doesn't work right now is because my program does not compile. So it's just useless. Maybe Visual Assist is better or some other thing. You really need it so that it can be, it can actually cope with it not compiling. If you think about it, it's silly, isn't it? That's why it would be better if instead, sort of more kind of fuzzy matching would be better than trying to make absolute matching, that it could take a guess. I mean, you know, why don't they make AI to improve user interfaces? This is something AI that could have predicted that that's what I wanted to do. Could look at it and go, oh, you probably mean this. I mean, you know, they're investing God knows how much money to enable people to take videos of people and mess with them, so now you don't know what the truth is anymore. Other really important and useful things like having talking cats, you know, but actually making AI do something useful, like making your computer able to infer what it is that you want when there is ambiguity, nah. It's just crazy. I just laugh. I laugh at it. Otherwise I would cry. How compile program? How next error? It still doesn't like that. Oh, right, because I forgot the how do copy.
Copied.
How do paste. You know, AI that would say, I've noted it figure out there's this pattern to what I'm doing, and then just say, would you like me just to do that again? Return value is not a member of. That's true, because what I have to do is now the following: get return value. How compile program. How next error. How do copy.
Copied.
How do paste. How compile program. I'm down to 103 errors now. Function exists does not exist. The non-existing function exists function. How do copy.
Copied.
How do paste. How do copy.
Copied.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? But this what you're witnessing here is the reality of C++ programming, that you spend most of your time as a programmer, if you're not careful, you spend most of your time as a programmer just managing this huge database of functions, which is stored in a series of .h files, and maintaining them manually. This isn't programming. It's refactoring work. I'm not using any of my programming skills to do this. This is grunt work that I have to do only because of header files. It's crazy. So what I do is, instead of worrying about that while I'm trying to also prototype code, is in the initial phase I just don't worry about it, so I can get a chunk of work done. And then I do a refactor stage. So the refactoring stage is what I'm doing now. But I mean, when you think about it, this is not highly intellectual work. It's just, you know, you have to just plow through it. Reorganization. and this is why I sort of criticize C++ a lot. This is an inelegant language. You're witnessing one of the major ways that C++ is not an elegant language, that I'm having to sit here and do this repetitive operation over and over again to tidy up the code. But you'll notice it's a pattern, and this is deliberate, that it make it a pattern so that then I can do the operation that's a repetitive operation, but there isn't really much thinking to be done. It's just, yeah, relying on the compiler to report the errors so that I don't even have to think about which bit. That's how. So otherwise, it's like, oh, hundreds of errors. How do you handle it? And you just start with the first error and you deal with it, and then that's it. This current context state, did I make one yet? I need to do a function called get current context state. So anyone looking at my code without understanding the context would go, this is awful code, Dino, why you do it? That's why I do it that way. Because if I had to sit there and make it pretty while I'm also prototyping and constructing it, I'd never be done. I remember I worked with a programmer once who had made very, very tidy, neat code. But the problem was that it was neat code while we were doing sort of like the messy stuff in the early end or the start of a project, or earlier stages of the project. A lot of that code, that neat code, got thrown away. Because it was neat, but in the end, yeah, it's like there was a better way to do it than that way, so the neatness didn't count for much. You first of all make it work, and then make it neat. Don't try to make it neat before you've made it work. What do you think could be done to make C++ less manual? Yeah, what you'd need is to just get rid of header files. It's hilarious. I could go and make a rant about this. In fact, maybe I will rant about it in a Moths of Programming. But you do realise, don't you, that a lot of the features of C languages, that were copied into other languages, let's say Java and C# are in fact the two examples. Let me just name them. So Java and C# got rid of header files because they're terrible. They're very good reason it was started off that way, because in the early days of computing, it was pretty much the only way it could be done on lower powered systems, right? But these days, where your computer's a lot more powerful and also database technology is far more advanced, you can store all of the definitions of your functions and your classes and so on can be stored in a database. That means that then when you are compiling a module and you're referring to some function in another module, then you can just ask the database for the definition. You can check with this call to see if it's valid for the way that that call is defined, that function is defined in the file where it's made. Now that's non-trivial, because generally, at least with C, in fact it's still there with Java. I'm not so sure about C#. No, C# as well. So basically what happens is you have source files. The source files are compiled into some form of object file, and so a compiler will run through it and do that translation, but it does it on one file at a time. So as it's doing that, it needs to access a database to read everything on all the files, right? So how can you do that if you're only compiling one file at a time, access all the files? So ways around that have been achieved in C# and Java by, in effect, using a database system. It's a different system to the traditional system, which was you convert CPP or C files into object files, but in order to have agreement between these files about what the definitions of functions, say in libraries, and also the other files that you're linking with that all get put together, there would be common definitions that would be shared between those C files. Those are the header files, and so that's the purpose of it. And the header is literally included. It basically just takes that header and puts it at the top of wherever you put include. It just includes it in that file so that the compiler at that time will have the information it needs about the context of the other things that will be compiled. And the whole purpose of this was just to keep the compilation units small, because on early computers, computers of 50 years ago, they didn't have a lot of memory. So you couldn't fit the whole program in memory. I mean, you can usually do that now. We don't think about it. But if you go back 50 years, you couldn't hold the whole program in memory a lot of the time. There just wasn't enough memory. So what you would hold in memory are just compilation units. The compiler would compile it and then create the object file, move on to the next one, and so then it's recycling the same memory, obviously, across all the different compilation units. It's all very clever, but it's no longer necessary. We don't have that constraint anymore, but it remains with C and C++ because they haven't updated it. And I think there's rumours they're about to, but flipping heck, it's so overdue. It's a constraint born of 50-year-old technology. So, but here's the thing: in C# and Java, they did that, but then they also took a bunch of other stuff from C++, and some of it only exists because of headers. So it's something I found when I was programming in C# with a big project with like Kickoff Revival. I would have this pattern that I would do in C++. Two basic patterns. Sometimes I combine them together. One of them is the pimple. The pimple pattern is the one that I'm doing right now, the pimple idiom. And that is where I have an implementation class which is held inside the CPP file, and then there's a forward declaration. The forward declaration means that I can put this in this class as a pointer to something which is not defined. It doesn't need the whole definition of implementation in here, which means that that whole mess of whatever the implementation is stays out of this header file. This is to keep the header file clean and prevent the need of it getting compiled over and over and over again. Because this is a big problem where you get header files that just inside header files and your compile times just go through the roof. There's a whole piece of technology in Unreal just for dealing with this situation, right? So if you use pimples, you don't need to do that, by the way. So perhaps they could have actually done it without needing all of that, maybe. But because what happens with this is that got then a class. This is IVM state is my class, which is a facade. It may actually be even the right word, I don't know, over in the front of this, which is the implementation. And that's what I'm constructing here are definitions for a wrapper, so that these function calls call another function that actually call the real one inside the CPP file that has the visibility of the definition of the implementation. So what you've got is, another way of thinking about it is this is an opaque pointer. It's a pointer, but you can't see into it. And that gets called. That is then that is a wrapper. So obviously the implementation of this can see that, and the implementation can see the actual class that is hidden here, right? Does that make sense? So this that's the pimple. That the other one is abstract interfaces. So, or just interfaces. They can be useful for also solving this problem, because what you do is instead of having a header file that includes the API functions for your module that people should call, also includes a bunch of state. Well, you don't really want anyone to see the state. It's unnecessary. It should be hidden. So what you can do is an alternative, a similar idea, but it's an alternative, is that you create a class that is an interface, and that interface is what you see, and it's just a bunch of calls, and there's no data, there's no variables there, no state. Now when you create the thing that is going to be that this is calling, this is in effect like the facade. It is a wrapper around the actual implementation, but in this case it's done by using virtual functions. So basically, when you call any of those functions, the indirection is done by the compiler using a vtable. In this case, I'm doing it myself. There's no vtable. The amount of complexity is hard. It is about the same. Sometimes I like to use abstract pimples, where I actually combine both of them together, which is the most robust, or guaranteed that you'll be able to separate your the public interface of your module from the implementation of your module. I think it can be overkill sometimes. So the point is that there's a whole heap of stuff that has evolved in C++ to deal with this stuff, and it's no longer relevant. So when I was in C#, because there are no header files, so I started off by copying some of the patterns that I got used to using in C++, and then I suddenly realized there's no point. I can just call it. I can make a wrapper around a class just by calling the class. I don't have to worry about how I get access to the class when I need to put the class in a header file, but if I put the class in the header file, I need to also include the header files for every single object and type or whatever that is inside the definition of the class. This is the problem, right? It's sort of like you learn that this is a major bottleneck in C++, so you build your architecture to deal with that. Then you move to C#, and if you do the same thing there, you're actually doing something that doesn't serve any purpose anymore. The pimple idiom has no use in C# or Java, because the only problem the pimple idiom solves is the problem of header files, and there are no header files in Java and C#. The same thing goes with an interface. So I remember setting up an interface. I want to separate the game code from the graphics engine, and so I started off originally. I started off by following the same pattern. Well, there's absolutely no need. the gameplay code, the two modules can just communicate directly. They don't need to be hidden behind an interface. So so with my C# code, I hardly ever in the end used interfaces. The only time I used an interface was, in fact, I found that I hardly ever needed to use them. Seriously, or inheritance. The one case that I did in Kickoff Revival where it was genuinely useful, and it's a very special case, really. There aren't a lot of these in practice when you're making a game, at least, and really needed it, was the plug board that I had for input, because I needed to be able to configure different gameplay modes, so that you might have 1 player, 2 player, potentially 3 or 4 player, network player, recording the input for the purpose of not just playback for debugging, but also for netplay, because the netplay used input sharing and lockstep, which is interesting because there are many people who told me that wouldn't work. But I knew it would work because of a test I did in the early 2000s that proved that it would work. I remember having a bit of a heated discussion with someone who was supposed to be helping with the project on this one. But it's like, it works. They were advocating using a thing where it sort of does a rewind. That would not have worked with Kickoff. I don't know how you could rewind the game. Too complicated to do a rewind. But anyway, I digress. So this plug board basically allowed you to say the output of an input device, you could plug it into the input of a game player, a player in the game. That would be a nice simple one. Or you could also send it to input recording. You could send it to the network transmission, network module, and then the network module, you get what was coming back from the other player, and then you could send it to record and also send it into the play of the game. And so basically every configuration just needed is it becomes like a telecommunications plug board. You just say, okay, we plug this controller goes onto there, this controller goes onto there, this controller also goes into here, into there, into the network. And you imagine doing like 2v2 network play. We never didn't keep going long enough, ran out of money, didn't keep going long enough to implement that, but that was part of the plan. That was to do 2v2 net play. So you can imagine that plug board would get very complicated, and for that you need to have a kind of unified interface for any of input or output input device. It gets confusing. An input device, there's an input and an output. The input of the whatever for that, and so for that there was, and that's a totally, absolutely invaluable use of an interface, because that they were implementing the interface, whatever they were, recorder, playback from the recording, taking the input for net play, receiving the input from net play, receiving the input to the player, all that could just be done by hooking up the pointers. And so there'd be this part that just went through and just configured, set the master configuration of the game that we're about to play. Perfect. That's the only one. That's the only one. I didn't use it anywhere else. I'll check the chat. Shouldn't it be possible to use some sort of preprocessor to order to generate larger part of the header files from the CPP files? Yes, it should, and I've done it, and people have written tools to do it. It's not that hard in principle for it to be done. The problem there in part though, is that parsing C++ is so difficult. Because it's such a horribly mishmashed language. It's actually quite difficult to parse. So that's one challenge. But yes, you could have auto-generated header files. Why have they not done that? Because that's the first step to the solution without header files. Because that's how it works, in effect. You parse, like in Java and C#, you parse the file and you get a database of all the things it needs. And all the things it exports. So what you're saying is, in fact, what happens under the hood in C# and in Java. They just never bothered to do it in C++. Though some companies have written their own tools for it, because it's a huge problem. It really is. It would not be beyond the bounds of possibility to have a program that would fix this for me. It'd go and look at the error and says, oh, context state. If it had some awareness that there was a refactoring going on, it could just do all this. You could do it, right? And if you have that database available, guess what? It's also very useful for things like IntelliSense or Visual Assist stuff. Maybe that's the problem. That if they do that, then it means that a whole heap of problems go away, and then various companies have less reason to make their products. Oh no, I'm just being silly. But it's not like it's never happened before. I need to get a drink. I've lost my water bottle. Right, so context, where was I? So in here we're doing this current context state. I have to go back here and find it. This is the definition. It's a pointer to an FIVM state. It's a bit like global context. What's the difference? Oh yeah, right. So what I'll need to do is get current. So I'm writing a function to get the current context state. It's an accessor. So this will return the pimple, which this is able to access that current context state. How do paste? That should probably be it, and then I can just take this and that's it, and put it down in here like so, and then take that. How do copy? How do copy?
Copied.
I have to leave a pause before I ask. And paste that and get rid of that. How run program. It should be called state, and what I have to do is use this instead. How next error. So that you see the accessor there. I'm using an accessor, but the purpose of this accessor is interesting. The purpose of the accessor is just to avoid having to include the header file. That's you have to use an accessor because this is uber private, because this implementation file isn't even in a header file, so how can anybody see this? And so it's in the facade, provides an accessor for it, but in the code that I'm refactoring from, it was just literally not using an accessor. Of course, in C# you can make functions, or you can take a member variable and turn it into a property, and it appears to behave in exactly the same way. So then you don't have to create a get function. I'm still haven't quite decided whether that's better or not. I think in the end I'm leaning towards it's better just to keep it so that you can tell the difference. You can see whether it's just a naked variable or if it's an accessor, because it's a function call. Because the only thing that you get from being able to do that is you save typing. But then there, on the other hand, which isn't very important, but on the other hand, there is a point that in terms of abstraction, it's better, because whether you hide, because of the fact that you can hide whether it's a variable or whether it's a function. But I think I'm leaning towards it being better not to use them. Return value, I created one for this. This was get return value. How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? So I'll substitute that one for that one. We'll do the next one, and this is more of the same, so I can just copy that and that's set return value. So what did I change before? Did I do that? Did I really do that? I noticed I'm setting. It didn't create an error. Oh, I don't like this. Well, I suppose when I say get return value, it's returning the return value as a reference. I'm not getting an error because it is literally modifying the, and it's meant to modify it. That is the point of it. I guess it's fine. It's literally doing a copy into the return value that was passed through. It is actually correct. It just felt wrong, but I think it is right. It's still something I think I want to refactor later, because that is really weird, isn't it? You take the return value and I'm assigning to the return value. Well, yeah, well, let's see. I'll find out. It's not something I really naturally would do, but we'll see. If they go away, I presume it should be all right. ARGS is not a member of FIVA. Yeah, so it's the same thing again. Get ARGS. ARGS. I guess that would be that. How do you paste? How next error? Yeah, I've got the type is wrong. The type for ARGS is a vector of expression items. Copy didn't take. I hate that. And you do a copy. std vector expression item. The type, return type, will be wrong in here. Differs only by return type. I thought I'd just fix that. I put it. Damn! I modified the wrong one. Let's take that. There, 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 there. How run program. How next error. So I've still got 103 errors. See, that's the problem, is that as you clear up the errors, it makes more errors. So there's probably a lot more than 103 errors there. Set current store both. We're making this now. I believe it's a void. This set current store both, which takes let's not try guessing. It's a string and an expression item. A string expression, I don't know, so standard string I called it SID, string ID, I suppose, or something ID. And a value. So this should, I don't need to return anything. Pimple set current store both SID value how do copy
Copied.
and another one down, and still exactly the same number of errors, 103 errors. Global context, did I already fix that one? I'm here. Yeah, I have a get global context. So, oh, you remember I made it a constant. We can debate, but this is not code which is undergoing peer review. It's the shortest path to a refactored code that still works. This should generate an error because I had defined it const. Just verify that. It's all as expected. Oh, really? Ah, well, it's because it was unable to execute. You see, this is an example of where I'm pulling a value and I'm actually taking a value and setting it just sort of randomly here. That should probably be a call. You know, I don't know, there's a name for that, but it's when you've got another class that is sort of reading a value from a class and modifying a value in the same class. It's probably not this class's job to do that. I should have a function that does that in the other class, but that's something for the next stage of refactoring. Right now my focus is to just break the file. Everything was 2 to 3,000 lines in one file, and now I'm just splitting them up. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to implement current context state instead, or I probably have that already. Get current context state. I'm just going to do that for now, and this should generate the error. Yeah, this is an error because of the const. So we're going to not have const in there. Eventually it can be const again, but right now it can't. Okay, it still doesn't like it. So get global context creates a reference to a state. Get current context state returns a pointer. So we have to change. We should change that. And this needs to be converted to a reference. So that, and then we have to go back to this has to be modified here as well, and we'll try again. That's probably going to generate an error for the previous one that I made work. Yeah, left data. This requires a pointer to current context state. I'm going to have to put an ampersand in front here. States is not a member of right. Okay, states. So let's have a look at states. Again, I've just got a member that is just as a map that's really no good in long run. But anyway, right now I need to give an accessor to it, so we'll just do that. Void, no, not void. So just check the type again. It's this. I could probably do with using a type def, but I'm not going to do that now because it's actually just going to start confusing things. It's better if I can just see the type. It might be more typing. But because I'm refactoring, it actually doesn't make sense to do that at this point. And then we can do get, what was the error? Get states. Yeah, get states. Return pimple states. We don't want to return it as just that, because then it's going to copy the whole damn thing, which is not what I want. And I can't make it const because it's still a two-way communication with that module, still driving it. You know, can modify things in there, can modify the state. So, but this is just debug function anyway. States is not member. Okay, I need to take this and how do copy.
Copied.
And we've got to go back up here. Boom. How do paste. And again. No, not that. That's the wrong one. Here. Get rid of that one. How run program. How compile program. How next error. I'm still at 103 errors. It's not going down. States is not a member. Right, so what I can do then is change this to get states. Still 103 errors. Identifier names is not a member of FIV. Right, so then we have another one of these. Identifier state, identifier names is this type. So I need to create a function that returns a reference to this map. It's going to be called get identifier names. Pimple Identify names. And then we need how do copy.
Copied.
And how do paste. How do paste. And how compile program. How to compile program. How compile program. Hello Hal.
Hello Dino.
Hal compile program. Must return a value. Get identifier names. Must return a value. Yeah. Okay, let's try this. Next. Still 103 errors. Identifier names is not a right because I'm still got to mod it. I've got to actually call this now, so we can take that on here. Boom. How compile program. How next error. Get current store to. Did I make this yet? I tell you what I'm going to do is I just realised something. I could probably speed this up a little if I do. Hang on. Get current store to is not a member. Oh. This is already a getter. It's a getter. I need to get the getter. No. There it is. That was already in the implementation. Yeah, I just need to make one of these. Okay. Get current store to return pimple get current store to. FIVM state. How do copy.
Copied.
That's that's exactly right. Yes, this way before people knew about memes, they already existed. There was this program called Fortune. You could almost call it a meme generator. Probably the earliest memes came from there. I don't know if people are familiar with Fortune. Hal used to read fortunes. I should bring that back online at some point. So, get current store to is not I was in the middle of doing this, so I interrupted myself and I'm going, what am I doing? I can't even remember anymore. Paste. And here we go. And we just delete that guy. How? Compile program. How next error. There's get current store to and get current store. Because it's swapping, the store 2 is the sort of back buffer of the state of the thing. How many errors have I got? Still 103 errors. So I just did get current store 2. I need to do exactly the same thing for something that is current store. And here we can down here, like so, and we have to do get current store. How compile program. Get current rules is not a member of FIVM state. So let's have a look at that error. State get current rules. Yeah, that's a getter. That's this is. I think I can. Well, I need to check what that type is, don't I? Right. So let's look for it. Here it is. We can take that down here. The next function, no Rooney, standard vector rule and get current rule standard string. Return pimple. Oh, come on. Get current rules. No autocomplete because of compiled errors, you see. Wonderful. Pimple, undeclared identifier. Why? Because I forgot to do, this is so annoying, I forgot to put in that. A good programming language, you'd be able to tell that quickly. I know I could see it, but you know, it's actually can be quite difficult to spot that. Because pimple belongs to this class, so if I leave that off, it just creates a standard, you know, just a classic C function that doesn't know what pimple is. Anyway, get current rules is not a member of, yeah. How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? And so that's it, and then of course I have to get rid of this. How compile program. Still 100. It must be maxing out at 103 errors. Just it doesn't bother. Ah, look at that. There it is. It's like, you know, it's a fatal error. Error count exceeds 100, stopping compilation. See, the problem is I've got no idea how many errors I really have. I don't know how long this will take. I've got nowhere measuring it. Oh, that's probably good to keep that on. All right. Where are we? This function does not take no parameters. Oh. Yes, I'm not exactly sure why I had that. I don't need to pass a variable in there. Let's try again. How? Next error. Current context state. Get current context state. Doesn't like it. Why not? Because expression data has to be a pointer. Why does it have to be a pointer? Because you can't have a reference as null. So I have to do that crazy thing. But illegal indirection. Are you sure? Yes. You are sure. There should be an ampersand. I don't know. There we go. Current context state is not a member of. Yes. Get current context state. Same thing again. Need to convert that into a pointer. Function does not take one argument. Which one? Does it even exist? See declaration. Oh. There must have been a get current watches where you passed in. Yes, there is. There's two get current watches. One of them you can pass in the context. I'll have to add that one. Return pimple get current watches. Get cover the wrong one. Get current watches. There we go. And we pass in the parameter s and go. No such function. No. It's not found. Allocated. Yeah, of course it's not found because I didn't have to copy it again. Under here. La 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 la. And next. Get current does not take. Get current watch current. Lovely naming. Get current, watch current. That takes an argument. It's this one. Over and over we go. Oh, it's down to 58 errors. I just noticed 58 errors. Well, then there's signs of progress. Return pimple. Get current, watch current, ridiculous name current. 57 errors. Get current actions. Yeah, so there is a get current actions that takes an argument. Whoops. There's this one. FIVM state return pimple get current actions context. Currently the context is a string that defines the context. That really needs to change. Overloaded member not found in bank. Yeah, okay, usual. How do paste? How compile program? How next error? 55 errors now. Then the error is get current rules does not take. Yeah, so it's a similar thing. Let's find get current rules. That what takes an argument? How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? How do copy?
Copied.
How do paste? How compile program? 54 errors. Current context state. I can replace that with get current context state. Doesn't like it. Usual thing. Need to get the address. What did I do? Oh, what did I do? Prior, all the code, this file here, which is now currently 2,400, was I think nearly 4,000 lines. What I've done is, oh, I thought I pulled all of these out. Yeah, all of this should have gone now as well, but for some reason it's still there. Anyway, everything was in this one file. So what I did was I started spinning out different parts of the code from the one big, I had a big blob, and starting to put them into modules. So the process is, when I do this, I like to just look at it and say, well, I usually, when I'm prototyping, end up with lots of classes in one file, and they're just inline classes, because it's faster to work that way than messing around with header files all the time. It's really irritating. So now I've got it to work. I'm refactoring, and so the first thing I'm doing is taking those classes, ones that I think are appropriate to, and then putting them into a CPP and a header file. But that requires changes to stuff. The naive way of doing that would be to take all of those classes, every single one of them, and then take the inline stuff out, make a master header, put it in the header file, you move it into the header file, and then you take all of the functions and you pull them out, just like these here, and you define them in the CPP, and I say it's naive because what you end up with then is a whole bunch of stuff in a header file that should be private to all the other modules, and that's the problem with it's why I don't like the private keyword. So all of this stuff here is private. Now if I was to put this in here, this is the public header. If I was to put it in here, I would hide it by putting it, say, in this part, and I would take all of these and I'd put them in there and say private. This is the big flaw with C++, that they have this mechanism to make things private. It's useless, almost useless, because it's not really private at all. It's there in the header. Now, why does that matter? That matters because this means that in order for this to compile, we need the header also for standard map, standard string, wherever identifier is stored. FIVM state needs to be in there as well, and expression item needs to be too. So what you've got then is that even though someone using this module might not need to see any of this, if you put it in the header file, even if you mark it private, the compiler still has to have it in order to compile. It's private in the sense that the compiler will complain if someone tries to access it, but the compiler has to read it all in order to compile the unit, so it's not really private at all. It means that this, in the compile unit that you have, when you're using the module, the compiler, when it compiles your code, is also compiling this. And so because it's compiling this, it needs to have access to all those headers, and so your compile times start getting slower and slower. And then there's also the problem that if the headers is quite common, you have macros which are a necessity for practical development. This whole thing of, oh, I'll have to have fun doing that one, never use macros as a moth of programming. That one's going to be fun. If I haven't already done it, I don't think I have. It's actually, you can't get away with not using them for, production, large-scale production code. You can't really avoid it because they provide something you really need. But anyway, where you have headers and they have defines in them, those defines can create conflicts. So it becomes a mess rapidly. And so in order to solve that problem, what I do is keep all of this, which was in a CPP, I'm keeping it in a CPP. But because I'm keeping it in a CPP and it's a different CPP to the CPP that's calling it, they cannot communicate because there's no header file. And so it generates a whole heap of errors as when it tries to compile phi.cpp, it just doesn't have the definitions of these things anymore. So I'm fixing it by putting the definitions in the public header, keeping the implementation here in the CPP, which is why the public keyword is here, but it's misleading. It is not public in any way, shape or form. It's only public to the code in this file. Outside of this file, nothing can see it. It's actually more private than private. So that's the thing. So I move the code over and then it creates a whole bunch of errors, and then I'm letting the compiler tell me the next thing I need to fix. Because I find that works, that works pretty well. So, right, let's get the next one. Get current context state. And it's the same thing again. And of course there's two things going on here while I'm doing this. One of them is that I'm doing what I want to do, which is get this working again with it split up. But all of this work going through the code and doing this manually does have an advantage, is I'm reviewing the whole code and it helps me understand what I need to change as I do the refactoring. So this is dump to state file. You can't see that. If I go to the implementation, there is one. I now need to make a wrapper for that as well, just like the others. So this is a void dump to state file in this class, and I need to call pimple dump to state file, and then take that up here and add it. Okay, and what do we have next? XCOM unknown override. All right, this is actually because we can see how far we're getting down this file. Actually, isn't it? Nearly at the end. This problem, I thought before I start going through this, I thought I'd already moved the parse visitor to something else. Okay, Klongeiger, take care. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night. So, where is the parse? I thought I was making a file. I called it parsing. Is this not already parse visit? It's already in here. I've already moved it into another file. So this is this is all going already. I'm pretty sure. Just check. I copied it, but instead of moving it. So that's great. This is fast forward here as far up to visit op GE greater or equal operation. Yeah. Okay, so this should be pretty quick here. We can go up to this point here and go boom. Let's try again. Oh, just 6 errors. We'll get there. Parse visitor, undeclared identifier. Okay, this is actually nothing to do with what I've been working on. It's to do with this, well, with this parse visitor thing. Expression construction. I need to see where that is defined. So I'm going to start having the same problem again. In this case, I need to create a class called a parse. Create a class called a parse visitor. This has to do with parsing. The code that's here is actually to do with it's the main. Oh, well, the easiest way is I don't need the main inside phi. The main will end up eventually in its own module. But for now, I can park it here. I can copy this in here too. And then it should have access to that class because it's in the same compile unit. What have we got now? Built-in initialize. So, okay. The built-in initialize, I've got 42 errors now.
Hello, Dino.
What's going to happen? Hello. Hello, how are you? Quiet night tonight. Last night it was very busy. 45 minutes to the moths of programming. So what's going to happen then is I'm re-releasing the Moths of Programming on my YouTube channel, but it is also they are available from your favorite podcasts service. Should be on any of them, really. I think at this point, we'll see. I'm trying out Buzzsprout. So chapter 1 and chapter 2 are available at the moment, but tonight the chapter 1 in video form is premiering in about 43 minutes. So when that's on, I'm going to stop the stream and be there on the premiere thing. In case anybody has any questions, I will be on the chat. I doubt it. I always say that because that's the thing. All my life I've done things and I wanted people to participate in them, and it's really, yeah. So that's why I actually really appreciate it when people say hi on the stream. It's nice. I can remember the first time I did that was at school. There was something I was trying to do, and I put a notice up on the board, and there was like 0 response from anybody, and it was like, but it's had a few. It's had a few downloads since I put it up. I mean, you know, a huge number actually for me. Where is it? Incredible number for me. It's where does it show the numbers? I don't know how I get my thing so I can see. There it is. Chapter 1 has had 8 downloads, and chapter 2 has had 2 downloads so far, but that only just got put up yesterday, I think, or day before yesterday. So that's actually not bad for me. When I reached double digits on anything, it's a moment of celebration. I don't celebrate much. Actually, the YouTube videos usually get about 40, I think, natural hits, natural views. It takes a while for a video to reach 100. Yeah. Anyway, oh, and you don't want to know about the figures from, you know, the number of streams I get for the music. Yeah, still waiting to get to that 10. Oh, and as for Apple. Oh dear, I get emails from Apple. They say, you know, with the report, how my songs are doing. You know, I look at it, and in big letters, the email has on there. It goes and says, no plays, 0 plays, and then it says 0 Shazams. I mean, how am I going to get a Shazam, for pity's sake? Can you imagine that? It's like, look, I'm not really looking for my first. Actually, I had one Shazam. I did actually on Man with a Mission. So I can only assume it was an error. It was some other track, and it erroneously picked out mine because it couldn't find what it was looking for. Destroy all software? No, I haven't. Oh, I have to Destroy all sort. I haven't. Sounds just like my thing, actually. Destroy all. Yeah. Actually, I like it already. Oh. What? Conference talks. This talk does not represent anyone's actual opinion.
Let's talk about Ruby.
It's
Ruby, unlike some other dynamic languages, does not have bare.
What? It's only 4
Word?
minutes long.
All right, good. You guys know what WAT means?
Wow.
WAT. Exactly. Let's talk about Ruby. In Ruby, if you reference an undefined variable, of course it name errors, as you would expect. And if you try to assign B to A with them undefined, of course it name errors, as you would expect. And what happens if you try to assign A to A with A undefined? Nil. Correct. Nil. WAT. Let's talk about Ruby.
Oh dear. Okay, that does look quite amusing. Yes, I learned something there. I didn't know about Ruby. I don't know Ruby. I've never looked at Ruby. I probably never will look at Ruby. There have been so many languages that there was the question: should I look at the language? And then you just sort of. There's a saying sometimes in management, that if you don't reply to something, it'll fix itself. So I've seen that there have been plenty of languages that, by not taking any interest in them, the need to learn them, the learning of them, sort of fixed itself. So it's just like they came, had some popularity, they died, and they're going to go away again. Dear me. So, yes. Anyway, where was I? Built-in initialize is a function that is somewhere. Where is it defined? It's defined in a file, or a foil, called built-in. So all I need to do on this one is quite simple. Include built-in. That's straightforward. What's the next one? Syntax error identifier FIVM state opaque. This is in built-in. It won't compile. Why not? I need to find where FIVM state opaque is. Thank goodness I can just search all files for things, because IntelliSense ain't gonna help me. Where would this be defined? In some kind of header? Yes, it's... Oh, you bastard. You see that? I was just there. That's what I call like a Pink Panther moment in UI design. It's like you're there, you see the thing you want, you go to do a double click, and just before you do the double click, it changes what's underneath you. You see that web browsers do that lots. So why can't you just respect that I'm actually looking at the screen, and whatever you do, keep the words, keep what's on the screen still there and update around it? I know. It's you're looking and you go, try to press on it. I could cry if I was not all cried out already. Let's try that again. Phi public. I'm not sure what Phi public is, but it sounds like something I should do sort of fairly early on in the include chain. So I'm just going to add it. I don't remember why I made that. I think it's probably obsolete. What? Phi public now does not compile. Why? Because it requires expression. See, this is the old classic thing of the order of header files. Nugget window is not in whatever, because I need right nugget. Yeah, okay. So we go back there and nugget window.h, which actually is no longer needed here. Oh, come on. Nugget window is actually not needed here. I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know if it's not needed. Let's put nugget window in. Unique pointer. So I need to add, oh God, which one was it? I actually don't know. The header. I try to avoid using those. They're ugly. Memory. It's all about memories. And it's still unidentified. Unique pointer. STD. Undeclared identifier. Lex error listener. So, do I have any headers in here at all? I do. I sort of commented these out, but maybe I just put them in now. Lexer error listener, undeclared identifier. We need to find all on that. Class path only made by Lexer error. Lexer error listener. Class Lexer error listener in. Oh God, you did it again. Right at that moment. Ah, yes, of course. So these files here. If I go back to my error, where is the error? Error list. Above main here, these are my functions. Ow. I think I need to take these two as well. and put them here. Try again. FIVM. It's like a radio station. FIVM. FIVM is the virtual machine, and it is an undeclared identifier. I need to find it. Find all. Turn it. Hal, please turn heater on.
Turning heater on.
FIVM, where are you defined? Ah. It is defined in here as well, in FIVM. Now, where do I need to put this? There was this FIVM state. Oh, I think I'm going to make a. I think it makes sense to add a new CPP and header for this. Add a new item. Hang on. What's going on here? I've got a bunch of other stuff there, wasn't it? I just want to add a file. Maybe I'm on the wrong thing. Let's try this again. Add. I need to add a file. No. Oh, there we go. Right. So FIVM.cpp. Add that. I will also add FI header file. FIVM. And looking at the level of complexity of, there isn't a lot of state in here. I don't think I need to go to that extent of the pimple for this. I'm going to do there's so little state involved. Wow. Where's expressor defined? And also in here. You see, there's the problem is you get this chain. It's like I'm looking at this and going, I could put this into you know, make a module out of this, put this into a header, but our FIVM state is an actual already in its own module. So yes, I can do that, but the expressor is defined in here as well. And the problem is that that is being referenced as, you know, it's actually saved in this class. So if I put this in a header, then I have to expose the header of, you know, the class of this as well, and this has a lot of functionality in it, so suddenly all of this is getting exposed, any state, and so that's a bit of a, I don't want to go through that, so I need to think about this. I think I'm going to have to, safest way is to follow the same pattern, so I will. I'm going to take this class out of here and put it into the new one, and this is going to generate a whole bunch more errors again. So you're seeing exactly what I did there. See, I'll put that in there. That's not going to compile until I fix it up. But the virtual machine needs to use the class that is called, you know, the class that is known as an expressor. I called it. That evaluates expressions. So that is going to come into here as well. And we'll get a bunch more errors. How
Hello Dino.
compile program. How next error. So yeah, it needs access to the FIVM state. So that's okay. I can just include that, hash include FIVM state. Next error. Map is not a member of STD. This is the problem, that when compiling FIVM CPP, the new one, I need to, this header needs to include the headers for map and vector. I have a rule, I don't like to, I want to avoid including headers inside of headers wherever possible. So instead of doing what many people would, you know, go and say, okay, in here let's put some includes for these, I hate that. I'd rather have it that you have to specify them in the CPP. So that's what I'm going to do. The reason being that then you can see what's included, because basically you have a master list of what is included. Hash include. Otherwise, knowing what is included is actually really difficult. Otherwise, so we hash include vector, hash include map. And so, what have we got now? Identifier. That I need to include. Item string is not a member of. Okay, so we can't even hash include string. and rule, and I declared identifier. Now, where was rule defined? I think I made a one called rule. So hash include rule. It's still undeclared when yeah, it needs to come before FIVM state. And then you also, by doing it this way, you also see what depends on what in terms of order. You can see if the other way is that you use like guard or pragma once, and then they get, if they get included again, then it just ignores it. But that's a hack. It gets very confusing when there's an error, a compile error in the header file, because then you've got to figure out, well, exactly which path did it take to get to it. So the next one then is stack is not a member of ST, right? So I need to include what? Oh, I need to include stack still unidentify thing in, it's still not seeing it, which is kind of weird. Oh, because it didn't move. There we go. Again, or I undid it. FS uses for F stream. String stream. Which I remember from yesterday is S stream. Assert not found. Right, okay, so we need to include, I should probably do it there, at hash oh, come on. There we go, debug.h. Next. Next error. Why does it not find it? We're compiling FIVM CPP. It couldn't find, oh, because that's not my debug assert. We need to actually include assert.h. Hi Michael. Thanks for saying hi. The map didn't save again. It seems I have to remember to save it, so, but I'll get you on there. Michael Stevens. There we go. Let me save the map. Ready to save? Okay, fairly harmless. You can do a save. Okay. Yeah. Now, next. Research. Yes. Okay. Ooh, I'm still on here. How compile program. How next error. So dump variable, stamp variable, typo, to stat file. Yeah, so I need to find where that is. It was defined here inside phi. It was a static. I'm going to just take that and put it at the top. La 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 la. Operator to C string, undefined. Now, operator to C string, undefined. I need to find where that is going to go. B, where it's from. Oh yes. Well, that is basically a C style function for changing an operator into a string. And I'm going to, well, I don't know where I should put it actually. Maybe I'll put it, maybe I'll leave it here. What I need is a definition. I can move it around then later without any problems. So when you're not using object-orientated C++ class stuff, by the way, if you're programming in just original C, or you're using that style of programming in your C++ code, it has a huge advantage in terms of header file management, because you can move this literally around any way you like. I suppose it's also true. Yeah, you can also you can move the implementation around any way you like, I suppose, as well in C++. But it just feels all wrong because yeah, it's kind of interesting. But what I'm going to do is leave it here. I can always move it later if I want, right? But what I need to make public somehow is the definition of this class. And this needs somewhere to go. Now I made a file called phi public, and I think I might as well use that. Yeah, because that's what that was for. It's for this kind. Look, actually, it's already in there. It's there. Okay, all I need to do is include phi public.h. And there we go. String undeclared identifier. Let's make that std string. Next, VM execution undeclared identifiers on a function call inside of FIVM. VM execution. Where is that defined? So it would have been defined inside phi.cpp. Let's go find it. There is a class called VM execution, and then I made a static. I think this was right. It was a little hack for forward references for, you know, getting around header files complications while hacking it together. I think I can just push this down here, and that would probably be all right. Maybe. VMX. Well, it still can't see it because it's in the wrong place. So what I'll do is take that and actually put it at the top of the file. See if that works better. syntax error identifier string, so like an std string. I've got 8 minutes to go to the premiere of the first chapter of The Moths of Programming. So I don't know if there's anybody here, but in 8 minutes I'm going to end the stream, but you can jump over there. Let me put a link up for it. I never look at how many people are on the stream. I try to avoid that. Yeah, so I'm going to try and do that again here, because I need to get into my channel and not look at how many people are and whatever, and then just sort of go to this one. And this is the link. So there we go. That is the premiere for the thing. And I'll be on the chat if you have any questions while it's going. Next error. Execute built-in function identifier not found. So I need to add built-ins. And that's it. Syntax error identify string. That's about the std string. Reverse no matching running file found. Now reverse was interesting because it's actually a bit of code, probably from Stack Overflow, for doing reverse iteration. I'm just going to pop that in there. It's only used in that one place, I believe. At the moment. There we go. System sleep. That requires I don't know where system sleep is. Oh, hang on. I suspect system sleep is my own. It's my own thing. Let's find all. System sleep. Here it is. It's in system. I need to include system. My system.h. Hash include system.h. There we go. And now next one. Oh, we're down to 16 errors. Identifier not found for expression list to string. Need to find that. Expression list to string, and it's in here in phi. I don't know who calls it. Well, where else is it? It's used in a few places. So again, I can just leave that here. I need to put a definition of it in to phi public. It's probably missing from there because I didn't. Yeah, it was only used in the single file before. So there's a definition of that. Right, try that. FIVM, undeclared identifier. Right, so that's probably because I need to include FIVM hash include FIVM.h 3 minutes. FIVM undeclared identifier still undeclared identifier even after including this. Why? Because That's not what I wanted to do. Because it's empty. And so that's a good place to leave it. So let's just check the old channel Rooney. And this is going to be premieres in 2 minutes. So as soon as that starts, I will stop the stream and I will start the stream again after the chapter 1 of the Moths of Programming. But that's not bad progress in the refactoring, considering that most of the system was in one file. The original, the really big one was phi.cpp. This one is now 300 lines. And so that's how, you know, that's how I like to do it. The parser is quite long. I know that's a computer generated one. That's generated from the tool. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Garcia, you are here for the premiere. I know there seems to be 2 of you here, so at least there's someone. G'day, Garcia. Been quiet. It was busy last night, quiet tonight. So I'm going to I'm just waiting for it to start, and I'll stop the stream and I'll be back afterwards. But you can ask me questions. Because I'll be listening in as well. Come on, Premiere. Surely. Oh, here it goes. Oh, excitement. So next week there's the premiere of Healer. I will try and do a premiere every Saturday midnight. So I'm going to just go stop the stream, but I'll be on the premiere chat channel. Thanks for watching. I'll be back later.